What if I told you that the most efficient technology to feed your family is not in a Silicon Valley laboratory or a high-tech industrial farm, but in a treatise written by a Chinese fish farmer 2,500 years ago? While you worry about food inflation and the fragility of supply chains in 2026, there is a biological engineering method that allows you to produce more protein per square meter than any beef cattle ranch, without needing to buy feed, without asking for permission, and without depending on anyone. What I am going to reveal to you today is how to rescue Fan Lee's knowledge and transform your backyard into a self-sufficient factory of life. The truth is that the silence regarding a regenerative aquaculture is no accident. The industrial meat system, which moves billions annually, has no incentive for you to know that a small 10 by 15 foot pond can produce hundreds of pounds of fish and thousands of eggs per year with almost zero maintenance costs. What I am going to show you in the next few minutes is the anatomy of a polyculture ecosystem, a window of opportunity for you to reclaim your food patient autonomy and ensure that in 10 years, when the world is anxious, you feel a calm that no amount of money can buy. I will expose how a Tang Dynasty emperor's mistake forced peasants to create the most perfect production system on Earth, where each species occupies a niche and nothing is wasted. We will understand how ducks, plants, and bacteria are the essential nutrients of a self-managing gear that transforms sunlight and water into pure sovereignty. If you are tired of being just a passive consumer at the end of a supply line that could break at any moment, this video is your manifesto of independence. I ask that you leave a like and subscribe, because here we don't talk about gardening hobbies, but about the biochemistry of survival applied to reality. Comment down below right now. Would you be willing to dig a hole to never depend on the price of meat? Again, I want to see who is ready to take control. The first major verdict you need to accept is that nature does not need your chemical interference. It needs your biological coordination. In 475 BC, Fan Lee understood that a pond is not just a fish tank, but an open-air digestive system. The secret of polyculture, perfected by necessity during the Tang Dynasty, consists of stacking functions. Bottom-dwelling fish that clean sediments, surface fish that control algae, and filter feeders that keep the water crystal clear. This is the biochemistry of survival in its most elegant form. The moment you integrate ducks into the system, you activate the nitrogen pump that feeds the entire chain. The ducks fertilize the water feeds the plankton feeds the fish, and you harvest the surplus. This protein factory operates in a window of opportunity that cattle ranching will never be able to reach. While an acre of pasture produces about 90 kilograms of beef per year, requiring constant management, a small regenerative pond can double that productivity in a tiny fraction of the space. Ducks are not just livestock. They are the biological managers of your ecosystem. A small flock of khaki Campbell ducks can deliver up to 1,700 eggs per year, while they themselves seek 30% of their nutrition from the insects and plants in the pond. You are using the sun's energy to convert waste into essential nutrients, closing the cycle that the industrial system made sure to break. The role of aquatic plants such as cattail and duckweed is what guarantees your technical patient autonomy. They are the kidneys and lungs of the system. Duckweed is one of the fastest growing plants on the planet, doubling its biomass in 48 hours and serving as free and inexhaustible feed for ducks and fish. By planting a ring of cattails around the edges, you create a biological filter that removes 90% of nitrogen waste, keeping the ecosystem in balance without expensive filters or electricity. You are not building a farm. You are starting a biological process that, once switched on, fights to stay alive. The entry cost for this sovereignty is ridiculous when compared to the return. For less than 600 Rs, you can set up the basic infrastructure that will feed generations. The industrial system convinced you that producing food is complex and expensive to ensure you keep buying. But the truth is that if you give your land the chance to follow natural contours and sunlight, biology does the heavy lifting. Your only role is to observe and harvest. This is the secret that survived wars and the fall of empires. The knowledge that makes you independent cannot be regulated because it belongs to the earth. At the end of the first year, the pond stops being a project and becomes a member of the family. You begin to see the silent signs of a mature system, the water finding its balance, the fish reproducing on their own, and the ducks returning to the nest with warm eggs. You realize that food security doesn't come from a bank account, but from the health of the soil and the water beneath your feet. You stopped buying meat and eggs from an industry that sees you as a number and started consuming the pure energy of a system that you orchestrated yourself. This is the beginning of your patient autonomy over the consumer system. You don't need government subsidies or agricultural colleges to understand that life wants to grow. You only need water, sun, and the courage to dig. The industrial system is fragile because it depends on external chains. Your pond is anti-fragile because the more the biology matures, the stronger the system becomes. And it is this strength that will guarantee your peace of mind when the markets out there begin to fluctuate. The second verdict of your food sovereignty lies in the strategic choice of the pieces on this living chessboard. The industrial system sells you fragile species that depend on processed feed, but Lee's polyculture focuses on species that are true biological tanks. For most regions, bluegill and channel catfish are the pillars of your survival biochemistry. They don't need pampering. The bluegill reproduces on its own, ensuring an infinite stock of protein while the catfish grows fast, reaching harvest weight in less than 18 months. You are selecting essential nutrients according to the organism's resistance, ensuring that your system is resilient to fluctuations that would destroy a conventional farm. The true window of opportunity arises when you understand the role of tilapia or species adapted to extreme heat. They are conversion machines. They transform algae and duckweed into high-quality fillets in just 6 months. If you live in a hot region, a small population of tilapia can yield 50 kilograms of meat in a single season. The secret is not what you give them to eat, but how you prepare the environment so that the food grows on its own. The nitrogen cycle maintained by invisible bacteria at the bottom of the pond is the silent engine that ensures the water remains an environment of abundance rather than a septic tank. But what happens when the climate verdict changes and winter arrives? This is where most beginners give up, but biological engineering has the answer. In cold climates, your pond enters a state of strategic dormancy. Fish like catfish and bluegill enter a low-activity mode under the ice, surviving for months with minimal oxygen. Your only job is to ensure gas exchange through a small hole in the surface. Ducks, with their thick plumage, are naturally resistant to the cold. They are proof that patient autonomy does not stop when the temperature drops. It simply changes pace, awaiting the explosion of life in the next spring. Maintaining this autonomy requires you to be a manager of balances, not a slave to tasks. The regenerative pond does not need chemical cleaning. It uses what the industrial system calls a problem as a solution. If algae grow too much, you introduce more duckweed to shade the surface. If the water seems poor, you let the ducks swim longer. You are reading the silent signs of nature to adjust energy flows. It is a form of preventive medicine for the land. If the system is balanced, disease has no room to manifest, and productivity becomes a natural byproduct of the ecosystem's health. This system is the antithesis of modern fragility. While agribusiness depends on imported chemical fertilizers and fossil fuel logistics, your fan-lee pond depends only on sun and rain. You are building an infrastructure that is, by definition, anti-fragile. If the power grid goes down, your fish keep growing. If the price of corn skyrockets, your duck keeps eating grass and insects. You have removed the intermediaries between sunlight and your plate, ensuring that your biochemistry of survival is not a hostage to decisions made in offices thousands of miles away. By mastering the biology of your backyard, you break the last stigma of the consumer, the idea that you need the system to survive. Real sovereignty is silent. It does not scream for attention. It simply provides. Having 50 tilapia growing in your backyard is having an inflation insurance that no bank can offer. You are investing in biological assets that multiply on their own and which, at the end of the day, transform into the essential nutrients that keep your family strong and independent. The pond is your altar of freedom, and winter is just the rest time for a mechanism that never stops working for you. The greatest benefit of a fan-lee ecosystem is not measured in pounds of fish, but in the eradication of fear. We live in an age where most people's survival biochemistry is hijacked by the anxiety of a just-in-time supply chain. If the truck doesn't reach the supermarket in 3 days, the city collapses. By building your regenerative pond, you install an anti-fragile system, something that not only resists disorder, but benefits from time. While the industrial system rots under the weight of bureaucracy and energy costs, your pond becomes more productive every passing year as the soil microbiota matures and essential nutrients recycle more and more efficiently. This transition returns intellectual and emotional patient autonomy to you. You stop reacting to news of scarcity with panic and start observing it with the distance of someone who owns a real biological asset. The pond is your insurance against inflation that no bank can confiscate. Every duck egg and every fish harvested is a declaration of independence from a $200 billion system that survives by keeping you dependent. You discover that true security is not having money to buy food, but having the knowledge and infrastructure for food to grow on its own under your command. Maintaining this system requires the development of what I call ecosystem vision. You begin to see the silent signs of nature not as noise, but as data. The color of the water, the behavior of the ducks, and the growth of the duckweed become your control panel. This direct connection with biology cures the cognitive malnutrition caused by urban life. You stop being a passive consumer of processed information and go back to being a steward, a guardian of life cycles. This change in mindset is the window of opportunity for a purposeful life, where your work is aligned with the laws of thermodynamics and life rather than with quarterly profit spreadsheets. There is also the factor of invisible sovereignty. Your neighbor might have an expensive car in the driveway, but he remains a slave to meat prices and government licenses. Your pond, being an integrated and small-scale biological system, flies below the radar of the regulations that suffocate small producers. You are collecting rainwater and creating life. It is the purest form of peaceful resistance. You don't need a noisy revolution to change the world. You only need a system that provides your essential nutrients without asking anyone for permission, creating a bubble of sanity and abundance in an increasingly unpredictable world. In 10 years, the difference between the dependent and the sovereign will be stark. While the masses will be struggling to adapt to new supply crises, you will be harvesting the surplus from a system that you built once and that replicated itself. The pond will have become a part of your patrimonial DNA. This is true wealth, The free time and peace of mind that arise when your basic needs for protein and energy are met by a natural process that you orchestrated. The Fan Lee Pond is, in the end, a machine for manufacturing freedom. The final choice is between being a disposable component of an industrial machine or the architect of a living ecosystem. The biochemistry of survival rewards those who plant the seed of autonomy before the drought arrives. Your pond is waiting to be dug, not just to feed your body, but to set your mind free from the cycle of dependency that defines the 21st century. When you look at the water and see the reflection of the sky along with the abundance you created, you understand that true technology is not made of silicon, but of soil, water, and the courage to be free. We have reached the point where theory becomes responsibility. To understand Fan Lee's system is to realize that protein scarcity and food dependency are social constructs, not biological limitations. Reclaiming your food patient autonomy requires that you stop asking for permission to be independent. The biochemistry of survival is a birthright, and the earth is just waiting for you to dig the first hole to begin serving you. Do not be led by the idea that producing your food is a step backward. In fact, it is the ultimate advancement for those who wish to be the master of their own destiny in an unstable 2026. It is fundamental to understand that the silent signs of a systemic crisis are already all around us. Ensuring your own source of essential nutrients is an act of prudence and clarity. The window of opportunity to build your sovereignty is now, while resources are still available and the soil is still free. Do not wait for the market shelf to be empty to value the knowledge from 2,500 years ago. Start planning your ecosystem today and discover that true wealth is not in what you buy, but in what you no longer need to ask anyone for. Fan Lee's treatise was not written for emperors, but for people like you, who seek the dignity of self-sufficiency. You discovered today that a hole in the backyard, some ducks, and the right biology are all that separate you from total dependence on industrial supply chains. Your survival biochemistry flourishes in the silence of an ecosystem that works while you sleep, transforming sunlight into life. Real sovereignty is not noisy. It is the calm of knowing that whatever happens out there, your family will be fed by the soil beneath your feet. Your true window of opportunity is open. Stop seeing your backyard as a piece of decorative grass and start seeing it as the laboratory of freedom it can be. By taking control of your protein production, you stop being a number in the consumer system and assume patient autonomy over your own nutrition. If this dive into Fan Lee's ancient engineering has given you the clarity to finally seek independence, leave a like and subscribe. This channel is the territory of those who prefer the security of the land to the promise of the markets. Share this video with those who have already realized that food security is the new gold, so they understand that the solution is biological, not financial. Comment down below right now. I am sovereign, so I know that you are ready to dig your path to freedom. The journey to self-sufficiency is not about doing more work. It is about allowing life to do the work for you. I thank you for having the courage to look at the earth with me and see the hidden technology it conceals. I will be here in the next video, unearthing another truth that gives power back to you. Keep searching for the essential nutrients of clarity. Honor your biology, and above all, do not depend on anyone for the basics. See you in the next dive for the truth.